Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Got more of your questions regarding the upcoming Survivor Series pay-per-view and other topics. You can send questions to twitter.com/AaronRift using the hashtag PAIV or PAIVONE if you have never had a question answered on video before. So that is for first timers. First one today comes from Robert. How big would the crowd pop be if AJ Styles and Seth Rollins got into the ring at the same time at Survivor Series, possibly WrestleMania match? I think that would be a very interesting scenario at Survivor Series, and one would think it's going to happen where we will see AJ Styles and Seth Rollins finally go at it on WWE television. They have worked together as a tag team at live events, but we haven't seen them face each other on a WWE television show. That will no doubt be very interesting and could plant the seeds for a future match. Could they do an inter-promotional match at WrestleMania? AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins? Absolutely, that is definitely a possibility. And I think that would be one of the dream matches for AJ Styles at WrestleMania. You know, you look at some of the potential opponents for AJ. Maybe he could face Orton at WrestleMania. Maybe he'll face Cena one more time. Who knows? Maybe they'll do AJ versus Undertaker, Phenomenal One versus Phenom. That's been talked about. But I think AJ versus Rollins would definitely be one of those top tier dream matches that fans would like to see for WrestleMania. And if you're going to do Raw versus SmackDown, that might be one of the best options to go with AJ versus Seth Rollins. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, if they interact at Survivor Series and the crowd goes crazy for it, then yeah, I could definitely see WWE considering that for WrestleMania. This one comes from Daniel Jobber. If Goldberg trains well and delivers at Survivor Series, what do you think of him facing Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 33? Interesting that you bring that up, because Goldberg, during a recent interview, mentioned Seth Rollins and said that when he's done with Brock Lesnar, if he has enough left in him, he might have to go after Seth Rollins, since Rollins calls himself the man. And as we all know, that is what Bobby Heenan called Goldberg for many years in WCW. So a little tease there by Goldberg, maybe not ruling out a second match in WWE. I mean, from everything that's been reported right now, Goldberg is just coming in for one match. Goldberg has stated that he's just coming in for one match. But you have to think, if the match at Survivor Series goes well, that there's always the opportunity to do further business, and a Goldberg match at WrestleMania might be a nice send-off for him, in addition to going into the Hall of Fame. And if you're going to have Goldberg against another guy, I mean, there's only a few people. You could do Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. You can do Goldberg versus Seth Rollins. But beyond that, there's not a lot of options. I mean, Goldberg versus Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, I'm not so sure about that one. You know, Goldberg versus Cena is another one they could possibly do. Even Goldberg versus Undertaker, I think that one's a long shot, but you never know. So yeah, I think that Goldberg and Seth Rollins would be a very realistic possibility, although I'm assuming Rollins would have to turn back to being heel again. But WWE might prefer to go with AJ versus Rollins instead. So at this point, it's very much up in the air if Goldberg's even going to do a second match, period. This one comes from Chris. Hey Aaron, Miz wearing red on SmackDown. Is that an Easter egg for him going to Raw and being the TBD Raw superstar to challenge Dolph Ziggler at Survivor Series? That's an interesting idea, to have the Miz show up and say, hey, I jump shipped to Raw, my contract expired, you know, the usual BS storyline, they'll just say his contract expired or whatever. They very well could do that and have Miz be part of the Raw roster. It's really weird, because I'm not sure WWE is going to have a championship jump ship to another show. So that is very interesting. I mean, that storyline would not make sense unless the title's on the line. Now, if the title's not on the line, then yeah, they could just do that match. But then again, it wouldn't make sense for The Miz to jump ship when he's not getting an opportunity at the title. The whole idea is getting his rematch for the IC title. I think it would be interesting, but I'm not sure WWE will do that just for the fact that they do not want to get things really out of control with the titles going to other brands, and then they would have to balance things and have another title go to SmackDown. I mean, I just don't see WWE doing that. If they're going to do anything like that, they'll do it next year when they have the next draft, the next lottery. This one comes from Scotty C. Hey Aaron, do you think Sami Zayn will answer Ziggler's challenge at Survivor Series? I think it would be a great match. That is what makes a lot of sense to me. Now, there was a graphic for Survivor Series on WWE's website that apparently showed Sami Zayn instead of the TBD, to be determined. That, I think, would be interesting because you have Seth Rollins, who currently is not involved in a match at Survivor Series, although I think they could end up doing Seth Rollins versus Chris Jericho at Survivor Series, in which case Sami Zayn being the fifth guy makes absolute sense. If Rollins and Jericho is not a match at Survivor Series, then one would think Rollins is going to be the fifth guy. And a lot of it also depends on who's winning. If SmackDown's winning, then do you really want Rollins in there? You do not want more guys having to lose than necessary. And with an elimination match, you're going to have an entire team lose. So WWE may just go with Sami Zayn, and plus it's in Canada, and it would make sense for Sami Zayn to be in a big match at Survivor Series. So that very well could happen. Sami Zayn being the fifth guy. If Rollins ends up in the match, then yeah, I would hope that Sami Zayn is the guy to go against The Miz. And if not Sami Zayn, then maybe somebody like Neville could end up being that guy. This one comes from DJ Whitey. Yo, Aaron, please answer in video. Can you see Rusev challenging Dolph Ziggler for the IC title, winning it, then immediately get traded to SmackDown? Now this, I think, makes more sense, where you have the Raw superstar beat Dolph Ziggler for the IC title, and because of that, he gets drafted, or maybe they do a trade. They can do a storyline where, okay, Rusev has the IC title, so Rusev is going to go to SmackDown, but Raw is going to get a major superstar in return for that. So I could see something like that happening. I think that that is more likely than what was talked about earlier. And Rusev makes more sense because he's a heel. So you would think if somebody from Raw is going to answer the challenge, it would be Rusev, who currently is not involved in a storyline. I mean, he's not part of the Raw match, the Raw Survivor Series match, unless he's the fifth guy, which would be weird, but that could happen as well. Rusev just ended the feud with Roman Reigns, and he could use some momentum right now. So you could potentially have Rusev win the IC title, and then he keeps his push going. So would not surprise me to see something like that play out. This one comes from Carl Johnson. Do you think WWE will consider Nakamura as actually dangerous after what happened with Aries, and could it hurt his career? I don't think this particular incident with Austin Aries will affect Nakamura's career in a negative way. Now, if he hurts somebody else and it becomes a pattern, then there may be some concern. I mean, freak accidents happened, and from what I saw in the video, it was just a total freak accident, and just the timing was off, and Aries got kicked right in the face. He got blindsided with a kick, and it happens. Sometimes you're just a split second off and something can go wrong, and the kick was worse than originally anticipated, and Aries is going to need surgery. I mean, it was pretty bad. I mean, he looked like he was one of the walkers from The Walking Dead. That's how bad it was. So hopefully Austin Aries comes back soon, and with NXT taping a lot of shows in advance, he's going to miss the Survivor Series weekend takeover, but hopefully he'll be back in time in January, and around that time maybe he'll get lucky and he'll get drafted to the main roster early next year when he comes back. That's what I'm hoping, at least. This one comes from Taryn Cameron. Hey Aaron, is WWE going to turn Ellsworth heel and turn on Ambrose like Colin Delaney did to Tommy Dreamer in ECW? Seems the same. I really hope not. I think that would just completely kill James Ellsworth dead. That would ruin his character to turn him heel. He is like the sad puppy dog, as Ambrose called him. The best case outcome of the storyline is a Dean Ambrose heel turn, as I said last week. You have the TLC match coming up, AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose, and I think that it would make sense for Ellsworth to accidentally cost Ambrose the match again at TLC, and that's when Ambrose finally has enough. This is expected to be the blow-off match for AJ and Ambrose. AJ wins, and Ambrose just completely snaps on Ellsworth and just beats him to a bloody pulp. Not a bloody pulp in PG WWE. I mean, ideally, I would have him beaten to a bloody pulp and have Ellsworth carried out on a stretcher, something like that, to really get Ambrose over as this despised heel. That is what should be done. If Ellsworth ends up being the one to turn heel, it's going to do nothing for Ellsworth. It's going to essentially kill his career. Got this one here from Sean T. Flick. When the draft is held next year, what do you think of an NXT combined for talent hoping to get drafted for the main roster? I'm not sure what your question means exactly. Maybe you're talking about NXT guys possibly being on the episode of Raw or SmackDown to fight for the opportunity to get drafted. I like something like that. I definitely feel that, it would be an interesting storyline for the NXT guys to be on Raw and SmackDown to show off their skills and try to impress the Raw and SmackDown officials. That would be an interesting storyline. And again, once they do the draft next year, I'm hoping guys like Samoa Joe and Nakamura and not AJ Styles, Austin Aries get drafted to the main roster. I mean, those are the next guys I think should be drafted. So yeah, as long as we see those guys drafted, I will be happy. But yeah, it would be nice to do some sort of storyline so it's not so random, like how they just picked Finn Balor as the top guy over, their top superstars without really showcasing Finn Balor to the main audience. So I'm hoping they'll do something like that this year. And I apologize if that wasn't exactly what your question was meant to be. I'm not sure what your question was exactly. All right, this next one comes from Ali. Bayley's belly-to-belly finisher looks very weak. Do you think she should change her finisher? I would say yes. I mean, it's just a belly-to-belly suplex, and I think, they went with that because it's cute and it's the little pun they can use. But I think it would be better to give her something a little bit more believable, I guess. I mean, even though she's this very likable character, I think she still needs to have a move that you believe can end a match. And a belly-to-belly suplex, it's done so often, it's almost like a basic move. And for it to be a finisher, I mean, yeah, it is fairly weak as a finisher. I would try to come up with something different for her, maybe a submission move, just something that's a little bit flashier and has a little bit more impact. This next one comes from Joshua. Was David Arquette winning the WCW belt really that bad? And why does Vince Russo get all the blame? Because it was Vince Russo's idea. Actually, I think maybe Shivani had something to do with it. I don't remember exactly. But, I mean, Russo did it because he wanted to pop a rating. And at that point, that was all that mattered to Russo, was trying to get the ratings up. And his idea was that any publicity is good publicity. The problem is that somebody who's not a wrestling fan sees this headline and they just laugh at it. They think it's a joke that an actor is the world champion. Even though wrestling's fixed, you still want to be able to suspend disbelief. As a viewer, you only want to see the top tier guys as the world champion. They're supposed to be the best of the best. And if anybody can win it, then the title has no prestige. It doesn't mean anything if any average guy off the street can be the world champion. In an ideal situation, only the very best can even get a shot at the world title, let alone win it. And, I know WCW did a tag team match where Arquette pinned Bischoff, but, Arquette should never be getting a title shot in the first place. I think that's what a lot of people would argue. I don't see it as any worse as when Vince won the title. That was just completely absurd, although I would say Vince has more credibility as an athlete than David Arquette. David Arquette's just completely a non-wrestler, no physical abilities, just a Hollywood actor coming in and just winning the world title as a fluke. It just undermined everybody in the WCW locker room, when this actor can come in and win the world title. It just hurt the credibility of the entire company and everybody involved. It made for good entertainment, but it didn't help WCW in terms of rebuilding a severely damaged brand at that point. This one comes from TJ. Do you think WWE is segregating the cruiserweights by not letting their segments flow through on Raw and no character development? Yeah, everyone has an opinion on the cruiserweight division, and it's obvious WWE's having them hold back a bit and not letting them do all the crazy stuff they were doing on the Cruiserweight Classic. Also, they're segregating the cruiserweights in a way by having the special lighting and the ring ropes and the logo at ringside. I think the cruiserweight should just be treated as a normal part of the show instead of trying to make them like this totally different thing. And, that's one reason why I was never a really huge fan of the cruiserweight division, because I feel that it puts the cruiserweights in a certain category and they're stuck in that bubble. And, I like when guys can compete for any titles, this idea that they can only compete for a certain title and only certain people can go for it. And these guys are in their own little world and the rest of WWE is an entirely different scope, a different universe. I was never really a big fan of that concept. I feel that, anybody can go for any title. And, with that being said, I still think it's more credible when, the bigger guy beats the smaller guy. But, that's a whole other topic. I would just ditch the ring ropes and doing the extra stuff with the ring when they do the cruiserweight matches. And, they've already invested so much in it, so they might as well keep it going now. And, they'll do it till they get tired of it, and then they'll move on to something else. This one comes from Kane. If Kurt Angle wasn't 100% when having the Shawn Michaels match, how much better would it have been if he was 100%? I'm not sure, because, I wasn't even aware Kurt Angle was less than 100% for that match unless he said something that I missed. I think back to like SummerSlam 91 and Mr. Perfect was not at 100%, and he still went out there. And if anything, sometimes when you're not 100%, that motivates you even more to go out there and just push yourself even harder than you would if you were healthy, if you were fully healthy. So it's really hard to say if the match would have been any better if Kurt Angle was healthier than he was when that match took place. Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, that match was almost flawless. I think back to that match and being there live, there was almost nothing you could say negative about that match. Really nothing. It was as close to a perfect match as you could ask for, and the crowd was just eating it up the entire time. They were into everything those guys were doing. It had tremendous drama, and the crowd was just loving it. And it accomplished everything it was supposed to do. And both of them put on tremendous athletic performances. So, it was amazing. And I don't know if Angle being healthier or Michaels being healthier would have really made any kind of real difference. This one comes from Dante. If John Cena and The Rock have retirement matches, who would be their opponents? That's a good question. I think in The Rock's case, you could do Rock versus Brock Lesnar or Rock versus Roman Reigns. Have The Rock go against one of the current stars in WWE. As for John Cena, that is harder to say because I think John Cena still has a good 5 to 10 years left in his career. And, 5 years from now, who knows who's going to be the top star in WWE. It could be a brand new guy that we haven't even seen yet. So that question is difficult to answer. But in The Rock's case, he may only have 1 or 2 more matches left in him. and he might do 1 or 2 more matches over the next couple years. And I think Roman Reigns would be a good pick, or Brock Lesnar. That'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Make sure you vote in the 2016 NoDQ.com Hall of Fame. You can check out the polls at NoDQ.com/polls, or just go on the website and check them out. With that being said, I will see you guys next time.